Good morning, and welcome to the Mainframe Technical Exchange. I'm Chris Crone, a distinguished engineer for Broadcom in the area of database technology. And today I'll be taking you through hybrid cloud, integrating your mainframe into your cloud strategy. For those of you that don't know me, I worked in DB2 for ZOS for more than 30 years. I was one of the lead architects on the team, specializing in the area of SQL and also working quite a bit in the area of performance. I joined Broadcom in January 2020, and I'm excited to be working for a company that embraces the mainframe. While at IBM, I had the privilege of helping many customers modernize applications while working in DB2. There were lots of different styles of conversions that went on. We saw things like vSAN or IMS to DB2, COBOL to Java, mainframe-centric applications being moved to client-server applications, homegrown solutions moving to package applications such as SAP. You name it, I probably saw it. Application access to data is always changing, and databases have to evolve to remain relevant. From my perspective, constant change has always been one of the most exciting things about the software industry. Lately, one of the most dramatic changes I've seen has been the shift to cloud. Everyone has a cloud strategy, but if you're attending today, you probably also have a mainframe, and you might be wondering, is it possible these two worlds can work together? Can you leverage the strengths of each to support the innovation your business needs? Let's try to answer those questions. There are very few enterprises today that are traditional IT only. More and more, enterprises are embracing cloud in one way or another. Of course, how enterprises approach cloud differs. There's public, private, multi, and hybrid. There's many choices. We're here to discuss hybrid cloud, which is becoming the de facto industry cloud model. Just so there's no confusion, let's define some terminology up front. Multi-cloud is just mixing of cloud offerings from multiple vendors, or the mixing of public and private cloud. Multi-cloud is a given. I don't know any customers that aren't doing multi-cloud. For today, let's focus on hybrid cloud. Hybrid cloud is about using common services models as well as common management models within traditional IT and cloud. As companies integrate cloud and traditional IT, how you do it matters. It's the common approach to providing services and managing those services that defines and differentiates hybrid cloud. Cloud systems are great at horizontal scaling, working together to move, process, and analyze data, as well as hosting front-end applications and edge computing. The mainframe, on the other hand, excels in both secure online transaction processing as well as batch. Both involve large amounts of data in a transactionally consistent manner. Hybrid cloud is really about bringing these two worlds together, leveraging the strengths of both, and running the workloads where they're best suited. There's not always a clear line that applies to every enterprise on what best suited means, but there's some obvious types of applications that excel in the cloud. Application or web serving, both scale well horizontally. One could argue a perfect fit for the cloud. I don't think anyone will argue that the mainframe should be used for web serving. Analytics is another example, applying a large number of cores to process data using machine learning. Whether it's building models for fraud detection or searching through space noise for ET, it's a great fit for the cloud. Now, some might argue that the mainframe can or should be used for application serving and analytics. And they might be right in certain cases. Chatty applications that access lots of data going back and forth to the database many times benefit from co-location with the database manager on the mainframe. I've seen my share of CICS applications that fit this bill. Fraud detection, as part of a credit card transaction, is another example of analytics that needs to happen synchronously in the transaction. In this case, you're using the model that you probably built in the cloud on the mainframe. But typically, you're not building the model on the mainframe. You're just using it. Hybrid cloud is about building flexible and performant infrastructure and using the right platform for each task. Using this basic guidance, a business can provide the digital experiences that we've all come to expect. Digital experience is an overused term, I know. But as we've seen, COVID-19 has accelerated a change from physical to digital across a wide range of industries. In my family, I use the example of Girl Scout cookies. I have two girls who are Girl Scouts, and in the past, They always sold cookies door to door or outside of a store or restaurant. In 2021, the whole experience has gone digital. Girl Scouts were given a personalized link where they could send to family and friends and solicit purchases that way. You would go and you would order, and Susie or whatever would be your Girl Scout, and the money would go to her, and you could either have her deliver the cookies. Typically, they were instructed to leave them at the door, or you could have them shipped directly via FedEx or whatever. A complete digital experience that really upended the whole Girl Scouts organization that I'm used to. I'm used to seeing, boxes of cookies in my house, the girls counting money. All of that now went online. In everyday life, we've seen the same sort of thing. If you go to a restaurant, right, you scan a QR code and you can order directly from your device, your phone. Banking, digital banking, right? I haven't been in a bank in I don't know how long. I process checks, checks come to me, and I process them by taking a picture of them to do a deposit. Touchless payments, even a credit card isn't enough anymore. More and more people want to go completely touchless. Things like using your phone to pay or tapping your card, but not actually giving the card to the cashier, as an example. These are all very visible differences in today's society. And the thing to think about that is, in the past, a lot of these things might have been done with cash or done in person. But now they're all done online. And typically in the background, a mainframe is processing those transactions. The interesting thing here in my examples, whether it's the payments, the digital banking, or the ordering, in all those cases, the back end processing, the actual movement of money, is typically done on a mainframe. The end user in all my examples is using a mobile device, right? The applications that are processing that QR code or the digital banking, those probably are hosted in the cloud. But the actual movement of money, the processing of that credit card transaction, the depositing of that money, that's all happening on the mainframe. This is really hybrid cloud at work. Let's take a peek under the covers of a mobile to mainframe transaction. This type of transaction is cloud and traditional IT working together, literally billions of times a day. On the left, we have a payment initiation system. These are microservices based and are most likely hosted in the cloud. In the middle, you can see the merchant acquirer processor that used to be an on-prem machine, or in some cases it was an in-store system, but they're now hosted in the cloud. On the right, we have card issuers and banks who have a combination of cloud-based systems providing services like tokenization and mainframes actually moving the money. As we noted earlier, cloud systems scale well horizontally and can spread work over many servers across data centers as well as continents. One weakness in this model is latency. If communication needs to be done between servers across data centers, latency affects the processing, both time and throughput. Remember Visa, 65,000 transactions per second? Those have to be done very efficiently and very quickly. To avoid issues with latency, cloud applications tend to be asynchronous, and cloud databases rely on something called an eventual consistency model. If you've ever ordered anything online, completed the transaction, and then a day or two later got a message saying your item was out of stock, that's probably an eventual consistency model. What happened was there was a small number of items in inventory, and one transaction occurred in data center A, say on the West Coast, and another transaction occurred in data center B on perhaps the East Coast. In both of those cases, a copy of the data was decremented to indicate that a sale had been made and that inventory was reduced by one. However, during the eventual consistency processing, what ended up happening was the number of items in inventory actually went negative. One person ends up getting the product, the other person gets an email. The eventual consistency model works great in many applications. And that's because in many cases, there's a lot of inventory. So if I've got 1,000 widgets and I sold one widget on the West Coast and one widget on the East Coast, I still have 998 widgets. And eventually Both systems will realize that I have 998 widgets. Financial transactions typically don't work on an eventual consistency model. Either the money's there or not, or either the credit card is valid or it's not. Financial systems are built around what's called a single version of the truth. In order to process transactions against a single version of the truth, you need a system that can both scale horizontally and vertically. With up to 190 processors each and 32 systems in a cluster, what IBM calls a parallel sysplex, the transaction and database managers that run on the mainframe are capable of processing your business critical transactions synchronously, as well as providing the availability you need via the clustered technology. These capabilities provide a single version of the truth in a highly efficient and resilient manner, a requirement for financial transactions. The benefits of this model extend beyond payments. There are countless others: airline reservations, insurance, and most government systems around the world, not just the US. I've actually worked with a large number of governments where their passport control systems, which have to be always available, are on the mainframe system. These are examples of cloud and mainframe, not cloud or mainframe, working together, leveraging the strength of each to make a better, modern, secure system. IT modernization, supporting business transformation, is an ongoing process. It's part of establishing an agile, responsive enterprise. Analysts and industry experts agree. Effective modernization strategies aren't about moving everything to the cloud, just like they aren't about keeping everything on the mainframe. A recent IDC study shows that a 6x ROI can be achieved by modernizing in place on the mainframe versus rewriting the application and moving to the cloud. The net per organization is $194 million in higher or protected revenue per year. This ROI is achieved through increased application functionality, lower operation costs, and faster detection of security breaches. And it's not just IDC. McKinsey is now advising clients that in many cases, in-place modernization is significantly less risky than a core platform replacement and just as powerful. They go on to state, mainframes often outperform multi-tier applications. Their reliability and performance for high-volume transaction processing are best in class. So if adopting a hybrid cloud approach to modernization makes sense for your mainframe and your cloud, the question then becomes where to start. Most people think of mainframe applications as monolithic: enterprise resource planning, supply chain management, retail banking. The reality is, these applications are made up of useful business value, typically referred to as transactions. And these transactions are perfect to surface as REST APIs for cloud applications to leverage. This is one of the simplest and most cost-effective ways of adding a REST interface to a traditional mainframe application. For example, an API is published for mobile banking. It invokes a mainframe transaction to transfer money between two accounts. Banking is a simple concept: transfer, deposit, withdrawal. We all understand those. But in reality, banking is very complex. Leveraging existing logic is a lot easier and cheaper than rewriting. Not only that, your time to market will be much faster. API enabling existing transactions is a great way to get started leveraging the value of your mainframe. Direct REST access to DB2 is another way to exploit one of your most valuable mainframe assets, your data. This is great for lightweight access. Execution of a single SQL statement for a task such as getting an account balance, incrementing a counter, or a quick inventory lookup that are often part of services-based applications. You can also invoke a DB2 store procedure if you need business logic, or more capability than a single SQL statement. Direct data services are a simple way to expose data in a secure fashion to cloud applications, and they're very popular. In fact, if you have DB2 installed, you probably already have this set up on your machine. You just need to start exploiting it. Compared to modern DevOps tools, mainframe development tools have traditionally been proprietary and siloed. To develop a true hybrid application, development tools and practices need to be integrated across mainframe and the cloud. There are other sessions covering DevOps. It's a topic in its own right. For now, I'd like to highlight a popular open source project named Zoe. Zoe is an open source initiative that uses REST APIs as well as command line interfaces, or CLI access, to enable open access to the mainframe. Whether it's DevOps, SecOps, or SysOps, Zoe lets you use the same tools with your mainframe that you use in your cloud. Zoe enables CI/CD tools like Jenkins and Gradle, test tools like Jest and Mocha, automation tooling such as Ansible, as well as integration with digital workflow services like ServiceNow to seamlessly access your mainframe. Need to give Sarah, your DBA, sysadmin access for 60 minutes to complete some work? With Zoe, that's no problem. Zoe provides capabilities that would allow you to use ServiceNow to request elevated privileges using your mainframe security access tooling. Zoe also enables your developers to use familiar industry standard IDEs with the mainframe. Syntax assist for coding, including COBOL? Check. Debugging from your IDE? Check. Access DB2 directly from the editor? Check. The list of tools using API ML, the Zoe API mediation layer, is growing daily. And industry leaders such as Broadcom, IBM, and Rocket Zoe certify their tools. Zoe is the way to enable consistent development and management across the mainframe in your cloud. You might say Zoe is hybrid cloud. I mentioned previously, the exciting thing about information technology is the constant change. You may have heard containers, a technology that is almost synonymous with the cloud these days. Containers allow developers to create applications without having to worry about where they'll be deployed. Developers can use containers on their workstation for development and deploy them into the cloud for production. The mainframe supports containers too. In fact, the latest mainframe, the Z15, is capable of supporting 2.4 million containers in a single system. This means you can co-locate standard containers with COS assets to provide ultra-secure, resilient, and scalable solutions. As with DevOps, containers is a topic unto itself. For now, just knowing you have the ability to deploy containers in your cloud and on your mainframe provides a lot of flexibility to your IT organization. I've given you a couple of examples on how easy it is to access your mainframe from your cloud environment. But in order to create a true hybrid cloud environment, you have to get your teams working together. To fully harness the strengths of both the cloud and mainframe platform, you need to evolve from a siloed operating model. Your organization needs to embrace a model that helps bring technology as well as teams together. By adopting an open framework and common tools across cloud and mainframe, you build the foundations for teams to work across platforms in a hybrid way. The result will be greater collaboration and transparency, as well as increased focus on delivering business requirements. Win-win. A recent Forrester study shows developing a hybrid cloud strategy as well as mainframe modernization are top IT initiatives. Modernization that includes things like API enabling mainframe applications and DevOps are all part of the same strategy. Hybrid cloud enables you to leverage the value of your mainframe. That value that your organization has built up over many years or even decades, cloud and mainframe. It's the way to ensure that you have the right tools, the right platforms for all your workloads. Thank you for spending time with me today. At this point, the prepared presentation is over with, and I'll be with you live in just a moment to answer all of your questions. So please stay online, and I'm happy to answer your questions. Thank you.